Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a really big shift in Christian thought, and we're going to break it all down using this fantastic metaphor of a fire and the structure built to contain it.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with the core question that's kinda at the heart of everything. When it comes to faith, who or what has the final say? Is it a sacred book? Is it a thousand-year-old institution? Or is it something in between? To really get our heads around this, we're going to use a central metaphor from the source material. I want you to imagine the Bible, or Scripture, as a powerful, brilliant fire. The whole story we're about to explore is really about the different ways people have tried to tend that fire.
So our story kicks off way back in the 16th century. It starts with a pretty revolutionary idea that acted like a single spark, a spark that would completely change the religious map of Europe forever. That spark flies in the year 1517. A German monk and theologian, a guy named Martin Luther, publishes his 95 Theses. And this wasn't just some academic paper. Oh no, this was a direct challenge to the authority of the church, and it's what really ignites the Protestant Reformation.
So, what was the fuel for this fire? Well, at the heart of Luther's challenge was this principle called sola scriptura. It's Latin for scripture alone. And the idea was exactly that the Bible, and only the Bible, should be the one true authority for what Christians believe and how they should live.
Now, you have to understand just how radical this was. All of a sudden, centuries of church tradition, the authority of popes and priests, even the use of human reason, all of that was seen as secondary. The main idea was that the fire of Scripture was for everyone, and you could experience it directly, no middleman required.
But here's the thing about a fire with no container, right? It spreads. And while this idea was incredibly empowering for individuals, it also went off in a whole bunch of different directions. Without one central authority saying this is what it means, different groups started interpreting the Bible in different ways. And that led to the fragmentation of Christianity into all the different Protestant denominations we see today.
All right, so now let's turn to the Catholic Church's response. How did they handle this? Well, their approach wasn't about putting the fire out. Not at all. It was about building something around it, a structure to contain it, to protect it, and to sustain its warmth.
So, in response to the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic Church launched its own huge movement. It was a period of renewal, of reform, and it's known as the Counter-Reformation. Now, a key part of this was clarifying the path to salvation. While many Protestants were championing sola fide, or faith alone, the Catholic Church basically doubled down on its position. They said, yes, faith is absolutely essential, but so are good works, so is participation in the life of the church. This is the foundation for building that hearth.
The thinking here was that the fire of Scripture is absolutely vital. Nobody's arguing with that. But it was never meant to burn all by itself out in the open. They argued that you needed other things, like tradition, the wisdom of the clergy, and the application of reason. Those were all seen as crucial tools for understanding the Bible correctly.
So now we have these two really powerful ways of thinking, the wild open fire and the carefully built hearth. So how do they really stack up when you put them side by side?
So let's just break it down nice and simple. On one side, you've got the fire. That's sola scriptura, the idea that the buck stops with the Bible. It's a direct line. Then, on the other side, you've got the hearth. Here, faith is also central, but the fire of Scripture is carefully tended, interpreted through the wisdom of tradition, the community, and reason. Two very different ways of managing the same flame.
And this just nails the metaphor perfectly. The idea of the hearth isn't to smother the fire or to hide it. The whole point is to protect it, to focus its energy, and to create this warm, stable center that a whole community can gather around.
So what is this hearth actually built with? Well, it's made of real, tangible things. It's this whole rich tapestry of teachings and rituals that have been passed down for centuries. You're talking about the formal structure of worship, the liturgy, the physical rituals of the sacraments, personal prayers and devotions. These are like the stones, carefully placed one by one to build this lasting structure.
But this hearth isn't just some dusty old monument, and this is where it gets really cool. The source material points to this idea that the fire and the hearth are meant to work together to create a living flame.
It's a concept called sensus fidelium. It sounds kind of fancy, but it just means the sense of the faithful. And it's this really beautiful idea that the entire community of believers, all together, over time, has this kind of collective wisdom, this special ability to understand Scripture and figure out God's will.
So you see, it's not just about what an ancient book says, and it's not just about what the church leaders say. It's about a living, breathing, collective understanding that grows out of this constant conversation between the fire of Scripture and the hearth of tradition, with the community right there at the center of it all.
And that leaves us with a really big question for our own time, doesn't it? In the world today, what's the best way to tend the flame of faith? Is it better as a wild, open fire where anyone can come and take a piece? Or does it need the structure of a hearth to give real, lasting warmth and light? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in to The Explainer.